Welcome to day number 2 of Honest Conversations about things that matter. Today we're talking about politics, so buckle up. I don't know if you've noticed, but for a lack of a better word, the political landscape in America is psycho. It is absolutely insane how politicians treat each other and how parties interact. If you're on the Republican side of the table, you hate the Democrats. If you're on the Democrat side, you hate Republicans. It's like we have lost our stinking mind when it comes to politics. We think that they are the villain, that they're against us, that they're trying to hurt our country and stop everything good that America is and or what it could be. But I have a proposition for you, and it's simply this, that you need the other party, and not just because like yin and yang and evil and good and you're good and they're evil. No, I mean you really need them, and our country needs them, and I'm gonna prove it to you right now. So in 2014, I went on a trip to India and Southeast Asia. While I was on the trip, I started to get kind of a tickle in my throat, but because I had purchased an international insurance plan, this isn't a plug for international travel insurance, I went to a hospital in Bangkok. The doctor prescribed me a medicine, sent me on my way. I had no idea what it was, but I trusted the doctor. I left Thailand, I went over to Hong Kong, and every day I started to get worse and worse and worse. I had gotten to a point where I could barely walk because of the dizziness I was experiencing in my eyes. I was coughing up blood. It was really, really bad. So I had to cut the trip short. I came back to Ohio where I was living at the time. So as soon as I got back to Ohio, I thought to myself, man, I have to get some medical treatment, but I didn't have insurance. And the thing was, I never had any issues up to this point, so I didn't think I really needed it. When you're coughing up blood, you can't stand because you're dizzy, your eyes aren't focusing, you know, man, I've got to go to the doctor. I went onto a website and I started looking up different insurance policies that I could pay into and get insured to go to the doctor. And unfortunately, at that time, the enrollment was closed and I couldn't access any of the healthcare plans. But there was this little thing at the very bottom that said, if you have low income or your income levels at a certain amount, you might qualify for state-funded healthcare, meaning you wouldn't even have to pay for it. And sure enough, at that time, I was running a nonprofit. I had no money. I was living off of like $3,000 to $5,000 a year. True story, doing this nonprofit work. So I applied, I got it, I got into a doctor. What had happened is the medicine that the guy had prescribed to me, the doctor prescribed to me in Thailand, it actually was causing liver damage in my body, which was causing even greater complications. So the thing that was supposed to be helping me actually ended up hurting me. That system that provided insurance for me was what a lot of people have called Obamacare, or the Affordable Care Act. That was one of those things in 2010 that passed that was so controversial. There was people at the time that they were freaking out. We haven't even read it. There's 961 pages. Why are we passing this? This is gonna end up hurting people. People on the other side of the aisle saying, no, this is good. We need to do this. There's poor Americans that need insurance. Long story short, them passing that bill greatly helped me. Now, here's what I wanna hit on. That same bill that helped me greatly hurt my sister. So my sister, her name is Shante. She's 6 years younger than me, and she was born with a disability, and she's medically fragile. Throughout her whole life, she's been just a beautiful joy to the world. Every person who's ever met her has left a better person from knowing my sister. The thing is prior to Obamacare, she had great coverage that would help her in her medical needs, as she did have medical needs. As Obamacare passed, what happened was she lost every single doctor that cared for her. No exaggeration, every single doctor would end up dropping her. And it was a long time before she could find a single doctor that would actually take her on and provide care for her. And I remember at that time when that bill was in discussion in 2010, that there's people that were coming forward saying, hey, listen, you need to hear this. If we pass this, there's gonna be people who are gonna determine who gets care and who doesn't get care. I remember them calling them death panels. That there's gonna be politicians that are gonna determine who lives and who dies. And I remember people just shaking their head being like, that's not true, that's ridiculous, that's an over-exaggeration. But sure enough, while there might not have been people at a table looking at my sister saying, hey, we're gonna let you die, their decision and their unwillingness to listen to some of the warnings that were being, echoed during that time cost my sister greatly. That while I, a person who didn't have a lot of money, could get great care. In fact, the care I got came with monthly chiropractic visits. It was amazing. It was like the best health insurance I've ever had. I didn't even have to pay for it. For my sister, she lost the basic necessity of doctoral care, where before she had it, but when the Affordable Care Act came into play, she lost every single doctor. Now here's the deal. In 2010, before this bill even passed, if people would have listened to each other and they would have pumped the brakes a little bit and actually talked about it, maybe they could have came up with a solution that would have helped me and not left my sister and other vulnerable people out to dry without care. People vilified the other side, and in reality, what they needed to do is they needed to listen to the other side. Because in America, if you are a representative, if you're a senator, there's a good chance you're a smart person. As much as we like to vilify each other, the truth is that our senators and representatives aren't stupid people. Do they have the same morals that we have? On all occasions, probably not. By and large, Democrats aren't trying to make America a worse place. And by and large, Republicans aren't trying to hurt poor people. They have plans for how they want to make our country better, and the approaches just look different. But I'll tell you this, if both sides would actually listen to each other and actually pump their brakes on all the finger pointing and the argument and vilifying one another, maybe we could come up with better laws and better solutions and better strategies that won't leave people out to dry while some are helped. And so I want to challenge you today that if you've been vilifying people of different political stances and party line affiliation, that you would check yourself and you would actually look and say, hey, what things does this other party stand for that I actually can get behind? And what things do I need to hold the line on and really fight for because it matters in our country? Just because people have a different opinion about economic stimulus doesn't mean they're evil. Just because people think that we should help businesses doesn't mean that they necessarily want to hurt poor people, and vice versa. Be able to call out good, be able to call out bad from your politicians that you stand with and the people that you oppose. Be able to see that they do good things. One of the practices that I've started, and I would encourage all of you to consider, is simply following a multitude of news sources. So on Twitter, I follow CNN. I also follow Fox News. I follow New York Times. There's different things that I like to expose myself to so that I can get a broad spectrum of news from different sources. What that does is it gives you a different perspective on news. So for instance, if you go to CNN, they're going to tell you that Donald Trump murdered someone. If you go to Fox News, they're going to tell you that Donald Trump should be the 13th disciple of Jesus. The sides of the spectrum are so leaning in their direction. And so it's super valuable to look at multiple different sources. And so that's my challenge for us today, is to step out of our silos. If you're a Fox News silo, or you're a CNN silo, or you're a New York Times silo, or an MSNBC silo, wherever you are, and to actually be informed, to listen to the words that are coming out of politicians' mouths themselves. First of all, you don't have to take a retweet or repost. You can actually go and watch the videos of what the politicians are saying themselves. Do that, and also look for things that they're doing that are good, as well as things that they're doing that you might not have agreed with. You can celebrate the good, you can stand against the bad. Follow your politicians on Facebook, social media, find out what they're talking about, hold them accountable, call their offices, write letters, let your voice be heard. But here's the deal. If you're a Democrat, you need Republicans. And if you're a Republican, you need Democrats. And if we do this together, more people are going to be helped and our country is going to be more unified than ever. And that's today's thought about things that matter. Peace out.